Hello, Miss Steele here. So this week we are talking about abstract art, which deals with color and shape and line, things that we've already went over. So for this project, we're going to make a tree inspired by Kandinsky's circles. So for this project, you want a few different things. You want a white piece of paper. This is what we're going to draw and color our circles on. You want a pencil and an eraser. And then for our background, you want a blue piece of paper, a green piece of paper for our grass, and then I have a brown piece of paper for our tree. If you don't have these, you can just color your background instead. You want glue and scissors, and then you want something to color in with. I have markers and crowns, but you can use what you have. So what we're going to do first is we're going to work on making our background, and then we're going to work on making our circles. So I'm going to get all of this out of the way. So our first step is taking our green paper, this is a light green, and drawing the shape we would like for our grass. So I'm going to add kind of a hilly line like that, and then I'm going to cut it out and glue it onto the bottom of here. So I'm going to try to follow along the line that I drew as best as possible, and then I'm going to get it glued to the bottom of my paper. Once I get this glued, we are going to work on drawing our tree and making our tree that we are going to put our circles onto for the leaves. So I just like to do a little thin line. And then we can stick that right on there and squish it down. So I'm going to set this aside, and now we are going to grab our brown paper to draw our tree. So to draw my tree, what I like to draw first is two curved lines next to each other, like that, right here in the middle of my paper. And then what I can do is I can make kind of squiggly, wavy lines for my branches coming out of my tree. You could draw branches coming off of branches. So maybe right here I have this, and then I'm going to draw two branches. So I'm just using a bunch of wavy triangles to make the branches for my tree. Then right here I can add a little one like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this cut out, and I think I want my tree to even be a little bit skinnier. So I'm going to get this cut out and then glued onto our grass right here. So I'm going to cut it out, glue it down, and then we'll move on to our next step. So I have my tree glued down, and I'm going to take some of my leftover green paper, and I'm going to cut a hill like this. So just kind of a little sort of bump, and then I'm going to cover that right here so it looks like my tree is coming out of the ground. So all I did was use my leftover green paper, and I cut out a little half circle with a kind of bumpy line. Now I'm going to put that there. So I am going to set this aside and let it dry while we work on our next step, which is using our paper. And what we want to do is we want to make a few circles about the size of our fist. And thankfully, these don't have to be perfect. So don't get too worried if they're not perfect. But I'm just filling up my paper with as many circles as I can that are about the size of my fist. Like that. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my goodness, I fit in 10 circles. Inside the circles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 2 or 3 smaller circles inside. And then what you're going to do is you're going to color in the circle using different colors for each of the parts. So some of them I'm just adding 2 circles into, some of them I'm adding 3 circles into, just so they all kind of look a little bit different and they're not all the same. So I have my circles drawn now. Now what I can do is using some colors is I can start coloring these in. And I have some markers, and I also have some crowns, and I think I'm going to go in between the two of them. But you want to color in your circles, and you want to use different colors for those different areas that we drew smaller circles in. So I'm starting out this one, and I'm going to use orange and cream and maybe red. What colors you pick to use are kind of up to you. But we want to work on getting all of these circles colored in so we can cut them out and decorate the top of our tree with them. So I am coloring these in so I can use them on my tree. So I'm going to color in some using crowns, some using markers, just so there's some different kinds of textures on here. But you can use whatever you have, whether that's crowns, colored pencils. These look really cool painted in if you have paints. So I'm going to keep coloring these in, and then I'm going to start working on getting them cut out. So I'm going to work on coloring these, and then we'll check back in once I have them all colored in. All right, so I have all my circles colored in. I got out of the lines on a few of them, but that's okay because our next step is getting them all cut out. So I am going to work on getting all of my circles that I drew cut out. And whenever I'm cutting out circles, what I like to do is I like to move the paper and kind of keep my scissors in the same spot. So I more move the paper with my hands than I turn my scissors while I'm cutting. I think it's easier to turn it with your hands. I colored in half of them with markers, and then I colored half of them with crowns, just because I think it'll add kind of a cool texture having the two different styles. But again, you can use whatever you have. So I'm going to work on getting these all cut out, and then we will move on to the next step, which is gluing these all over our tree. So here comes what I think is my favorite part, where I start laying them down and kind of moving them around my paper to see where I want to put all of them. So you can work on moving them around, figuring out where you want each one to be. If you want them to be closer together or farther apart, that's kind of up to you. But I'm going to start gluing mine down. They can even be hanging off the paper if you'd like, off the side of the edge. But I'm going to start gluing these down because I have already worked on moving them around and kind of realizing where I want them to be. So I am filling in my tree with all of these super cool Kandinsky circles that we drew and cut out to make this Kandinsky style tree. And I have 10 circles, but you might have more or less depending. But you want to use what you have for your tree. I'm going through and I'm trying to fill in any gaps I see. Maybe right here. And maybe my last one will go right here towards the bottom. Maybe I'll scoot this one over a little bit. You can scoot them around while they're still drying. And that is it. That is my Kandinsky inspired tree. You can go back and add details onto your tree and grass and background if you want, but I think I'm going to leave mine like this for now. I'm so excited to see how yours come out. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, or afternoon whenever you're watching this. Bye.